It's live before it's live. Oh. Hi. We're live.
We are live. Thank you everyone for joining us today. I'm Anumani, your modern day shaman and international best-selling author of Unmasking Your Soul, a transformational journey of truth, light, and healing. And today I'm honored to have my friend and special guest, Macy Matarazzo, who's an amazing love and relationship coach. And today she's going to share her story with all of you, her own journey of unmasking. Welcome, Macy.
Thanks for having me.
So I wanted to start by level setting everyone. And before we go into that, let me tell people a little bit about you, because you've had quite an amazing journey. You are the founder of Love Advantage and premier love coaching program, Love Vibe TV, and the author of the upcoming book, Crafty Love. I love that title. The Playful Path to Soulmate Love. A first-time bride at 43 with over 25 years collecting failed relationships, devastating heartbreaks, and dateless holiday parties before you finally found the formula which broke the painful cycle. Now you devote your life to helping other career women stop the madness, create the kind of love they never thought could exist. You bring your clients a magical combination of transformational change methodology, intuitive guidance, yoga, and creative exploration to offer relationship counseling and dating advice for women over 40 who want love. You've been using these tools for over 25 years and found a powerful yet fun way for women to attract extraordinary love in their lives. Welcome, Macy.
Thank you.
So before we get deeper into this conversation about your journey and your own unmasking, I wanted to level set our audience on the definition around soul, because I think sometimes people have different definitions. So I wanted to ask you what your definition of soul is, and then I'm going to add a little bit to that. So please.
Okay. All right. Well, my definition, I think, would be that part of you, like the inner wise self part of you, that part of you that's just been here for lifetimes and that has all the wisdom that we need to know. That's what I would say.
Yes. And I think people have different names for that part of us. Some people call it the inner wise self, higher self. In my book, I call it divine self. This is the part of you that's connected to whatever belief system you have, God, universe, creator, and is the part of us that wants to guide us on this journey. And so I want to start the conversation by asking you to talk a little bit about how you were able to unmask yourself and become this amazing love and relationship coach.
Yeah, well, I think the first part is that there's so much time I spent not even understanding that there were masks. So there were times in my life where I really felt loss in like losing a mask, and I didn't really understand why. Like feeling like there was a time when I wasn't well, and so I sort of wore this mask of the sick person for a while, and there was something about that brought attention. And so I kind of got used to that identity. And it took a while for me to like recognize that I needed to let that go in order to be free in my life. And just other times wearing the mask of a a business owner, or, I mean, the biggest mask that I had was that I wore the kind of corporate woman mask for a while, which wearing that mask for me meant denying a lot of me in that environment. So I think when I made the switch, when I recognized that mask and started living more from my soul, I just noticed that there was just way more space in my life.
And tell us about, was there a specific moment when you realized that, you had been working in corporate? Tell us more about how you got from corporate to being a love and relationship coach.
Well, I always knew that I would be doing something like coaching or serving or healing, some work in that field. And yet I kind of got used to and addicted to having a regular paycheck. Really, there were kind of those golden cuffs for a while. There's so many motivators, bonuses, healthcare, like all of these things that kind of keep you feeling like you can't leave in a way. And there was just a point when clearly my soul was ready to get out of that, because all of my safety blankets kept zipping away. It was just like, having a boss that I liked, even though I didn't like being in that job. So like that anchored me in. Having certain amounts of vacation anchored me in. But there was a time when all of those benefits started going away. And all of a sudden I realized there was nothing that I could hold on to anymore. And I feel like that was the universe, pulling out all of those safety nets and just saying, it's time to go on your own.
Yeah, and I can relate to that because I wore many masks, working in corporate as well for many years, and then having my dream of awakening in 2003. But even then, after that, I still felt pulled to corporate because of the regular paycheck, etc. So was there a pivotal moment, right, in your life where you said, okay, enough is enough. I need to do something different?
Yeah, I mean, I think certainly in my relationship space, I had that moment very vividly where I really wanted a relationship. I was approaching age 40 thinking, oh no, it's never going to happen. And right at that point, I actually met this amazing guy who's a realtor, he's super successful, like gaspingly handsome. And I thought, wow, okay, I'm finally figured this out. And then it was right around the time when my parents were coming to visit. And I thought, great, they're going to meet him and they don't have to worry about me anymore because I'm not living alone in my little house, which really made them nervous. And so they met him. And then my parents and I went back to my house, and my mom sat me down and said, Macy, if you think you're going to keep a man like that, you're going to have to stop being so weird. And it was devastating. I really felt like my heart just broke. And they were right, because he dumped me 2 weeks later. But the thing that I noticed, it was this moment when I recognized that the real truth was I wasn't being weird enough, because they knew me, they saw me completely. Yet it was like I was bringing that corporate mask into my relationship space. And I was just kind of doing what I thought a man needed as I just did what the job said they needed. Just kind of pretending. So, in the end, my mom was right in that, of course we didn't match. He never saw me. And so it just made sense. So it was really a wake-up call that actually sort of my secret sauce to relationship was how I could be 100% concentrated me. And what that was like, which is scary it was scary at first, really looking at that, but I didn't even know I wasn't showing up before.
And that's a really great point, because the journey of unmasking really is about getting to be who you really are and being seen, right? And being able to see the soul of that other person in relationship and them seeing it in you. And that bond then is a bond that is so powerful and strong. So can you talk a little bit about some of the masks that you've seen maybe with some of your clients, or some of the things that you've seen happen around love and wearing masks in relationships?
Yeah, I mean, that's a really kind of deep topic because there's so many levels to it. I mean, really, the first piece of just our own self-knowledge of, who we are. And when I'm working with clients, one of the key things is being able to even know what it feels like to just be you without masks. And, that's first identifying some of the masks that we do wear. I mean, just even the simple ones, like being a sister, your job, what you were labeled as a kid, the funny one, the smart one, like all of it, like even recognizing all the ways we wear masks. And so with clients, I mean, I often see masks that hold, beliefs like I always attract unavailable men, or, what I want doesn't exist. I don't know if that's a mask or not, but these beliefs kind of create that idea about yourself.
Yes.
So, yeah.
I can relate to what you mentioned. Reminds me of how I felt in my own relationship, which became very unhealthy. But there was a part of me that felt that there was a love more like what you described before, right? Where you really see each other and feel that soul connection. And for me, I found myself wearing many masks in my relationship as well, in love relationships. And my biggest mask really was the people pleasing one. I had this belief that in order to be accepted and loved, that I had to please everyone. So I did that in my career, with my family, in my relationship, until I discovered, like, oh, this is not healthy, and I wasn't happy, right? And I started to shed the mask, and that's probably the one that I've had to make sure I check in on, because sometimes the old patterns can come back, and we have to make sure we're keeping those in check, and not allowing ourselves to compromise who we really are, because that's what you do, right, when you're wearing a mask. And I think it's much harder to actually not be yourself. It just takes so much energy to not be yourself.
I agree. I was actually just thinking about that today because, there's this idea, especially with the women that I work with, because they're successful. They're going to their yoga classes. They have careers. Like there's a lot going on. And, as spiritual people, which I work with a lot of spiritually conscious women, then we have our spiritual practice and, all of the layers that come with, being successful people, really. And so there's this idea that, oh, I'm going to have to do more work, kind of like a little expanded version of what you said.
Right.
I'm going to have to do more work. I'm going to have to do all this work on myself. I've already done a lot of work on myself, that kind of
Yeah.
tone. And really, it really isn't more. It's more about clearing out all the stuff that we do to kind of avoid our soul's voice.
Yes.
Or deny it, avoid it. Maybe we're afraid of it. Our body doesn't want to create that change in our life. And all of the ways that we're, like you say, efforting, when actually what's easier is to get the skills to just be you and have the courage to do that.
So if you were to give our audience some advice on with related to love, right? Many of us have worn love masks before, right? Masks in our relationships. Is there any advice that you can give now for whoever's watching on maybe a couple of things that they could start doing to start taking off those masks?
Mm-hmm.
I know it's scary, right? When you start doing that. So based on what you've seen with your clients and your own experience, is there something that would be helpful for those watching that they could start doing?
I think the first thing I can think of is to just start noticing the masks. You don't have to change it, you don't have to do more, but just kind of notice where you are wearing a mask. And I would say that there are probably some that just come out of habit, because we do have the role of, sister or mother, whatever. But then notice the ones that come out of fear, like the people pleaser, like, I don't want to say the wrong thing. I don't want to not be liked. Like, I think that kind of starting to notice all the different masks, but really noticing the ones that are being created out of fear. And then from there, because like you said, it is kind of scary. What I know to be true about everything is that there's always like a polarity. So if there's like that people pleasing mask that's being lived, then what we know is, and it's almost like you can maybe even turn the mask around. Maybe it's more like taking it off, but there's always another side. So with the people pleasing one, it's like, okay, well, how can I come back to myself? So like seeing the polarities of it, it's like, okay, want to make them happy, like make you happy. Like, how can you come back and experience it, the polarity of that mask? Yeah. And sometimes that takes help, because it's when we've had those habits, it can be really challenging. And I find, I am with you on the people pleasing one, that it squeaks in, and you don't notice it. So it's a constant management, I think.
And I just want to add to that, because I think that's terrific advice, that when you start to be aware of the mass and start to go underneath it to say, why do I, because it's coming from some sort of belief, that once you discover what that belief is, I like to tell people to stand in front of the mirror. This is one of my favorite exercises, the mirror, and say an affirmation that's going to help you shift that energy. So for example, if you feel that you don't deserve the love that you want, you could stand in front of the mirror and say, I am worthy of the love that I desire, right? And start shifting the energy and really looking into your eyes in the mirror. Because once you are aware, right, it becomes a lot easier to start shifting the energy. And that's really the key, is the awareness that you're wearing this mask, and then you're doing the work like you said, to start shifting that energy.
Oh yeah, definitely. I think that the worthiness piece is huge. And I find that so many of our masks, well, a lot of my clients, those masks are coming from not feeling worthy and forgetting that it's always there, just it's free with purchase as being a human.
Yeah. So is there anything else that you'd like to share with our audience?
Well, I just think that it's such a fascinating topic, and I love your book.
Thank you.
um, and what I really want women to know, if they're looking for a relationship and they really want love in their life, and they're maybe believing that it's not possible, that they're that it is possible, and that if you have that desire, that that is part of your soul's calling, that if you have the desire for a relationship, that that's your soul's voice saying, this is the time. So listen to that. And if it seems scary, then it's helpful to have help. And that's actually what I'm sharing today, is offering help.
And I just want to echo that before you invite our audience with some help, because I believe that truly that we all have someone out there that we're meant to be with, and it does start at a soul level. And I remember in the book, as I was writing it, some of the guidance I got was that love chooses you, you don't choose it. And the love really is coming from that soul level. And it's kind of like this recognition that happens when two people meet, and your soul recognizes their soul and their soul recognizes your soul, and you just immediately feel this connection where you feel like you've known this person forever, where perhaps, you know, they finish your sentences and you finish theirs, right? There's that kind of connection where the love you have for each other lifts you up when you're together, right? And when you're not, you can still feel that love. So I want people to take that in, because that's a really important point, that listening to your soul's voice and allowing it to guide you to that place of love, because it's there for you. So why don't you tell our audience how they can work with you?
Yeah, so I'm offering 3 happy in love strategy sessions. And this is about creating that real soul connected kind of love. And if you are longing for that, then this session is great, because we'll sit down, we'll look at, what's happening, what you want to create, and how you can get there. And I'll share with you really specifically what that takes. And then, certainly if I have anything that I know can help, we'll talk about that. But this is not about sales. This is about really getting the next level clarity that's needed and necessary to create real soul connected love.
That's beautiful, and it's an amazing offer. And is there a link, Macy?
Yeah, I'll put the link below, and it's called a Happy in Love Strategy Session. And I'm inviting people just to fill out a little application before, just so that I can get to know you better. But if you're really longing for that relationship, this is a great thing to do.
Wonderful. So thank you, Macy. I'm so excited that you were the first one to kick off the series. We're going to be back on Facebook Live here with another guest on November 27th. So I look forward to seeing everyone then. Thank you, everyone who joined us. Love and blessings to everyone. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.